Continuing our coverage of the physical altercation that took place at Arlington Cemetery when a Trump staffer physically attacked, it seems, an Arlington Cemetery staff member as they were trying to get a photo op for Donald Trump using the Arlington Cemetery and specifically Section 60 as a prop. Donald Trump was asked about it yesterday from NBC. Let's take a listen to his answer.
Should your campaign have put out those videos and photos?
Well, we have a lot of people. We have people, TikTok people. We're leading the internet. That was the other thing. We're so far above her on the internet.
But on that hallowed ground, should they have put out?
Well, I don't know what the rules and regulations are. I don't know who did it. And it could have been them. It could have been the parents. It could have been somebody.
It was your campaign's TikTok, though, that put out the video.
I really don't know anything about it. All I do is I stood there and I said, if you'd like to have a picture, we can have a picture. If somebody did it, this was a setup.
Donald Trump saying, I don't know the rules and regulations. This was a setup. I'm joined by Congressman Jake Auchincloss of Massachusetts' 4th Congressional District. In addition to being a congressman of Massachusetts' 4th, he's also a Marine vet who commanded infantry in Afghanistan. I'd love to get your reaction to that immediate response by Donald Trump, that it's a setup and that he does not know what the rules were.
Thanks for having me on. The rules were very clearly explained to his campaign. And honestly, they shouldn't have had to be, because the rules are self-evident, which is that when you are stepping onto hallowed ground, demonstrate respect. Demonstrate respect for the last full measure of devotion that these American heroes gave to their country. And that means don't pose in front of their graves with your thumbs up laughing. Don't assault an army official who's trying to do their job by keeping that hallowed ground sacred. Just be a decent human being. I mean, this isn't even sort of regulations or politics. It's just like, be a human. And apparently that is beyond the reaches of Donald Trump and his campaign staff. And it's part of a pattern. He clearly just cannot comprehend what it means to put country before self. He's attacked Gold Star families, attacked POWs, called American war dead suckers and losers, draft dodged himself when asked to serve. This is an individual who will never understand what the uniform means.
He also recently called his own former chief of staff, 4-star General John Kelly, stupid and an idiot. He called for the execution of the former chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Mark Milley. Do you think that, though, Donald Trump's disrespect of the military and, calling for the execution of a military leader, is it getting enough attention out there? Do you think people now, because of this Arlington Cemetery incident, are paying attention to it once again? What do you make of it?
No, it's never gotten enough attention. The two elements of his character that I have never understood why they are not disqualifying for more Americans are, one, his consistent denigration of women. He's bragged about sexual assault. He's been found civilly liable for sexual assault. He nominated as VP a man who revels in misogyny. And two, his repeated degradation of the United States military. There's a reason that every cabinet official, every national security advisor from his first administration, whoever wore stars themselves, has come out and said, this man is a threat to national security. And this man undermines the United States Constitution that we are sworn to protect. These two elements, his misogyny and his disrespect for the United States military, should both independently be disqualifying, and taken together are really revealing of a bankrupt moral character.
It was about 2 days ago, and we reported here on the MeidasTouch network, but I could have said 4 days ago, 8 days ago, 12 days ago, because he basically does this every day. Before 10 a.m., he posted like 30 to 45 posts that were just reposts of the most misogynistic, hateful, weird, strange, you name it, all in one. And it was post. And as I always say, if someone was posting about their fantasy football team that much, I'd be like, hey, you've got some serious issues. But let me just show you what he was posting, and then let me share with you what his running mate, J.D. Vance, had to say about it. Donald Trump posted this photo of Hillary Clinton and Vice President Kamala Harris, and it says the following. It says, funny how blowjobs impacted both of their careers. He posted this photo of former President Barack Obama and said, retruth if you want public military tribunals. He posted several like this one. That's a QAnon post you can see in his hand, camera right, but his left hand, he has the Q plus, which is a death cult that believes that he's going to conduct public executions on Capitol Hill, public military tribunals. And it says, the world will soon understand nothing can stop what is coming. His running mate, J.D. Vance, was asked about this. Let me show you what J.D. Vance said moments ago.
You were talking about Donald Trump's social media. Would you describe his posts over the last 48 hours as lifting people up, quoting, reposting QAnon statements, reposting these misogynistic memes about Vice President Harris and Hillary Clinton? That's the kind of open discussion that you think is lifting people up?
Oh, John, I think if you look at Donald Trump's full campaign appearances and, yes, his social media appearances, what you see is two things: a guy with an agenda to lower prices and bring back American prosperity, and a political candidate who isn't stodgy, who likes to have some fun and likes to tell some jokes. I'd much rather have a candidate who's willing to go off script, who's willing to give every interview, and is willing to tell some jokes. I do think that's how you lift people up.
So they think that's funny and lifting people up.
It's remarkable how often men mistake meanness and misogyny for toughness. You and I, I'm sure, both know lots of guys like this. Regrettably, the Republicans have nominated for president and vice president two of the prime exemplars of this. They just don't get it. They think they look tough. They think they look fun, but they're not. They look small and mean-spirited. It's pathetic. And what the mark of a politician who truly has self-confidence is someone who can poke fun at themselves, someone who can laugh at themselves. Can you ever imagine Donald Trump laughing at himself? Nobody has ever taken themselves more self-seriously than Donald Trump has, and for less good reason.
You and I chatted about almost 2 months ago. Maybe it was early July. It was a very different race, a very different situation. Obviously, Vice President Kamala Harris interviewed with CNN. You know, my own take afterward is that it seemed that CNN was using kind of the Trump talking points and then posing them as questions to her, which I found an interesting, I'll just say it that to be delicately, but it was a tough interview. I can never imagine Trump sitting for an interview that ever looked like that type of interview without kind of running away. What'd you make? That's just my perspective. What'd you make of the interview generally? And what do you think of the state of the race right now?
It's a tough interview, and that's fine. Presidential candidates should sit for tough interviews and answer tough questions. They're accountable to the American public and need to explain their policy agenda and how they're going to lead, because sitting in the Oval Office, character counts, and Americans want to understand the character. The good news for Democrats is we've got joy, we've got momentum, and Donald Trump has J.D. Vance. So I'll take it. We right now are making this contest a choice between the future and the past, because one consistent feature of Donald Trump's campaign is this self-pitying lamentation about his own past. It's remarkable. I mean, this guy was born on third base, thought he hit a triple, and still complains that the umpires are rigging the game. All he wants to do is be the martyr of persecution. And it's exhausting, and it's pathetic, and it's boring. And meanwhile, Kamala Harris is out there talking about a proactive, positive agenda to lower costs and to unite Americans around our higher aspirations. And we are so ready for that.
You know, are you I mean, one of the things that I'm seeing are people who weren't involved in politics being interested in it. I'm seeing, I was calling it mainstream Republicans before, but I was told, Ben, call us classic Republicans. We want to be called classic Republicans, not MAGA. We're classic Republicans supporting Vice President Kamala Harris, progressives, liberals, you know, kind of all joining together. And, you know, your district is an interesting one. I mean, it's made up, it's a moderate district. It's made up of, you know, all different types of, you know, groups of people. What are you hearing? What are you seeing there?
Unbridled enthusiasm, first and foremost, from Democratic voters. So since the Democratic National Convention, north of $80 million raised. A third of those donations come from first-time donors. 2/3 of those donors are women. We're seeing voter registration surge. This is a party that is galvanized and unified. Also seeing, to your point, that Kamala Harris is resonating with those Haley voters in the heartland. And I think there's a number of elements to that appeal. First and foremost, it's a lower cost agenda. This is about an economy that feels like there's more breathing room for the average middle class family. And talking about lowering the cost of housing, for example, with a plan to build 3 million more units. talking about prescription drug affordability, which is an issue I've tried to lead on as well, are important specific ways to resonate. Number two, rule of law. The Republican Party loves to claim they're the party of the rule of law. It's interesting because I've been in Congress with them for 4 years, and I've seen them try to defund the FBI. I've seen them deny congressional gold medals to Capitol Hill police officers who put themselves in the line of duty on January 6th. I've seen them try to surge guns to criminals. And I've seen them vote against and torpedo bipartisan border security legislation. They are not the party of the rule of law. Meanwhile, Kamala Harris is very pointedly leaning into a law and order message. I think that's going to resonate as well.
Finally, Congressman, tell us what you're working on. What are you excited about personally for your congressional district and for the country? What are some of your top priorities right now?
Let me give you three, and I'll try to be succinct. Number one, we got to support Ukraine. They're fighting on the front lines of the free world. And I am pressuring the Biden administration to authorize Ukraine to use long-range ballistic missiles and the F-16s to strike Russian oil refining capacity inside Russian territory. If we can disable their ability to take crude oil and turn it into exportable oil, we will significantly impair their war economy. And that is something that President Biden can do unilaterally. Don't need congressional approval for that. Let Ukraine fight without its hands tied behind its back. Number two, I'm taking on the big pharmacy benefit managers. These are United Health Group, Cigna Express Scripts, CVS Caremark, Fortune 20 companies owned by health insurance companies that dominate 80% of the prescription drug market and are price gouging pharmacists and patients. We're working to lower those costs. And then finally, we're all familiar with the surge in AI. What I'm worried is going to accompany this is a epidemic of deepfake pornography, particularly targeting against young women. The ability to take pictures of women without their consent, upload them into apps, and turn that into pornographic content. We are trying to hold the social media companies to account to be liable for that content so that they do not platform or amplify it.
Congressman Jake Auchincloss, thanks for joining us again.
Good to be with you.
Hit subscribe. Let's get to 4 million subscribers. Have a good one.
Real quick, Meta just changed their algorithm to suppress political content. Please follow our Instagram @MeidasTouch right now as we head towards 400,000 followers so you don't miss a beat.